Hey, and welcome back to the Subaru Baja. Last time I was able to fix some of the many issues that were plaguing this car, such as the power steering pump and engine codes. For this episode, we'll be tackling some more simpler problems. As such, I think it's time to bring these crusty headlights back to life. Alright, so before we get to restoring them, I need to figure out why the driver's side one is not working. As you can see, the high beams work, but not the regular bulb. This isn't hard to diagnose, as all we need to do is just check fuses and bulbs, as they would be the most obvious culprits. Fuses seem to check out, so onto the headlight itself. Taking this off isn't too much of a hassle, just need to find all the bolts and then wrestle it off of the car. You really only have to pay attention to the connector cables as to not tear them apart. Just twist and then pull, just like that, and you'll have access to the bulbs. Now, just be careful to make sure, again, you don't pull any of the wires. You can disconnect them from here. I'm just checking them out. But once that's free, those are the connectors, and that is the bulb that we're looking at, the one to the left. Or I guess the top if you're looking at it from the perspective of the headlight itself. This side you can see a bit better what I do. The top ones you can just pull off, and then the other one is a clip. The regular headlight bulb is actually held in by a spring clamp sort of thing, and once you get that out of the way you can just pull it out and plop in the new one. Reversing the order, of course. And yeah, this bulb is no good. Not exactly sure how it ended up like this, but it's not supposed to look like that. Luckily, there were some spares in the glove box alongside some other broken ones, but we can just slap that in. If you can't visually inspect them for defects, you can always check the resistance using a multimeter. This one looks good to go, and when it's in the car, it lights up. Perfect. So, we went from a non-fully working faded headlight to a sort of working crusty old faded headlight. Let's change that. The condition of these don't look beyond saving, so I'll give it a shot at restoring them. This should be a fairly quick one to do. Just wet sand in the old layer that's peeling and slowly work it down from various grits. Once smooth and wiped with alcohol, spray on the clear coat and let it dry. Spray a second coat after a while and voila, a cracked top coat. Okay, that didn't work out. How about the other one? For this, I'll place a lighter first coat so that it can dry evenly and not do... And it cracked. Again. Alright, back to sanding. Surely if I just repeat everything I did, it will all work out just fine. Okay, anyways, new drill sander thingy. I'm assuming that the clear coat that I was using reacted with the plastic used for the headlights, causing the weird cracking effect. And hopefully using an actual headlight product will resolve my issues, which it really did. Huh. Now it's not perfect and you can still see tiny scratch marks from the sanding if you go up close, but for me this turned out beautifully. All that's left to do is let them cure and wax them once on the car. And look at that, no more faded headlights. Next on the chopping block is to get that one sensor wire that I broke back in episode 1 reconnected. I'm able to access it by removing the alternator, where I can then clean the area and prep for the splice. I bought a replacement off Amazon, and with a crimp shrink butt connector, that is done. Putting things back together, we now have a fixed mystery sensor. I honestly assume it's the oil pressure switch, which tells the car when there is low oil pressure, so that's good. With that, we have blazed through the last couple of issues, which was great for stalling for the inevitable. It's time to deal with that parking brake. before going forward, I just want to make something absolutely clear to you guys watching. This was not an easy process, and the whole thing took me close to about a month just to complete. Well, realistically speaking, I only had a couple weekends to work on it, which didn't help. I'd often leave the project defeated and spend the weekdays searching the internet for some easy solution to get some progress. But alas, what I'm trying to say is that this wasn't really how I expected things to go, and I was only able to finish it in the end due to sheer persistence and some tomfoolery. This is not a tutorial, but anyways, this is how it went.
So we basically get it back to the point where we left it last time, where the brake is off and everything's exposed. I'm just chipping away at the loose rust that's inhibiting the axle nut, as the socket won't go on perfectly well, and before I destroy anything, I want to clean it up and make sure it has the best chance of getting out. Once that's done, we can start to pry off the little tab on the little indentation on the axle nut so that it will spin freely. Once that's done, we can give it a few ugga-duggas, and that's the axle nut gone. Here comes problem number 1. These wheel hubs are notorious for rust welding to the knuckle, making it a real pain to deal with. And from what I can tell, there really isn't an exact method that works every time. At least one that doesn't involve damaging one of the parts. Now, since we'll be replacing the backing plates on both sides, we can at least sacrifice the old ones, if need be. Which is what I did. You can take a hammer to force the backing plate to rotate back and forth, dislodging it so that the holes for the bolts are misaligned. If you offset it just enough, then it can be used as a spot for the bolts to push off of. As you can see here, as long as you take your time and work around the hub, it will slowly but surely break free. But doing so reveals another problem. It appears that the axle spindle has seized into the hub as well. But this should be the last thing that's holding it in. No matter what I did, it just wouldn't break free though. So for now, let's set that aside while I think of another solution. In the meantime, we can get to work on the interior of the car. The cables for the parking brake lead underneath the car and can be a bit tricky to get at. You have to take out the entire center console, which honestly isn't that hard to do, especially with the help of
this. This is the Haynes repair manual, as you can read, for the Subaru Legacy and Forester, which happens to include the Outback and Baja itself. This one's the one we want. Now, this was around, I don't know, 30 bucks. But it includes very detailed instructions for taking apart the car and what to do for each step. It goes over removal, installation, and also diagnosing, which is very helpful. Sectioned off so you can easily find things, and as you can see, it also includes very handy diagrams to show you what they're talking about exactly and where to find them. Now, the one that interests us the most is behind this sticky note, which is the parking brake cables adjustment, removal, and installation, which goes over everything that we need to know about it and includes a very useful technical diagram for the actual parking brake system. We already loosened the hub over here in the backing plate, so all we need to do is remove the line itself. Now, this section over here, this is the interior of the car, and it's blocked by the center console. We don't actually need to pay attention to the lever itself because the cables connect at this junction right here. So once we get that junction out of there, we can remove these grommets, which are connected to the actual cable itself. So just pull off those grommets, follow the line to remove these bracket pieces, which are just bolted on, leading all the way to the hub, and then we can just snake it through and take it all out. The problem with our parking brake cable is that everything's fine up until you get to here where someone cut off the end, which means we can't use it and we had to replace it. There's a problem with that, but we'll get on to that when we actually reach it in the video. Another useful thing to know is the disassembly of the center console itself. As you can see, it uses even more diagrams to show you what to do, prying the plastic trim off, getting at the screws, and what tabs to pay attention to. Now, with that, let's get back into the actual video itself and finish up the parking brake cables, shall we?
So before the camera died, or after the camera died, I was able to take out the center console. Right over here. Not that hard. This part is all outlined in the Haynes repair manual, so that's pretty good. Now what? So we're still waiting on. I'm still waiting to get some tools to take out that axle because the axle is stuck. In the meantime, we're going to be looking at the parking cables. So this is what the parking brake looks like. Very low bar. That's where the issue is. So this one right here is the adjuster. It pulls on both of them connected to that hinge right there. I already took out the other side because I'm going to pull that out soon. Anyways, this one's kind of hard to show on camera, but once you get access to this area, you have a couple bolts you have to take out. One here and one here, back there, in order to remove the bracket that's holding in the parking brake cables. In order to do so, you have to peel this carpet back, which is going to be a pain, but it's time to get through that.
Okay, so what follows isn't really that interesting because, yeah, that's all you're really getting. It's just a video of me being under the car. Essentially what happens is I take out the parking brake cable. The bolts are kind of still attached to wherever they're attached to. It's just that they've rotted so much that it just disintegrated. So that's going to be fun to deal with. Aside from that, the parking brake is actually free. It's just held on to the backing plate itself. That was a couple... That wasn't really that hard to do. So, yeah. Anyways, this is my solution. A good old rotary hammer drill. Got it from Princess Auto since these Caterpillar tools were in surplus and on sale. That's nice. In theory, I just need to target the axle and... Okay, switching to the other side, we can, well, let's see here. Wheel, bolt, caliper, bracket, disc, hammer, chisel, camera dies, bolt, 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 fancy hammer, regular hammer, bolt and wrench, wrench and hammer, wiggle for fun, fancy hammer for fun. Wait, that actually did something. Wrench, bolt, bolt, wrench, and boom. This side is off. And as a bonus, the splines don't actually seem all too bad. Nice. Now we can take this back to the bench, clean it up a bit, and just like that, this hub is ready to go back in. But before that, let's get the other side off. Going back to the puller from the slide hammer kit, we can hope and pray something goes differently. Okay, something actually did go differently. Cool.
How about that? Both hubs are now off, and we can get this one cleaned up as well. I am incredibly stupid. Okay, so remember how this side was the one I took apart first? Well, I originally thought that you needed to take out the ABS sensor as to not damage it while taking the hub off, but turns out not really. And on top of that, while I was taking it out, it was a bit more seized than I thought, and in return, it broke regardless. Long story short, it was really stuck in there and drilling was the only option. That's another part to replace. Once that's done, we can go on ahead with reassembling everything back together. Firstly, I cleaned up the underside a tiny bit where the parking brake cable goes just like so, and once fed through, we can bolt up the top end. Now we can put both the backing plate with the hub assembly back into the knuckle, and with a lot of anti-seize to make sure future jobs are less painful, and finish off by bolting it in place. Oh, and don't worry, I did get those clip things for the parking brake cable, so it is indeed secured to the backing plate. Finishing things off here, we can put back the center console. And just like that, all that's left to do is rebuild the brake itself, using hardware pulled from other cars, as this one didn't have them. So here's where we went wrong. These parts were pulled off a 2011 Subaru Impreza, I believe. They look very similar. They look like they can work, but it doesn't. It's just ever too big, a bit too big. Now, so the problem that we were running into is that these parts that were pulled off of a 2011 Subaru Impreza, I believe, just don't fit. Because here we have a parking brake that does work, a shoe, and this one is the lever. It's too big. It doesn't fit. So instead we went to a different junkyard and grabbed these. These are smaller. These are from a 2003 Forester, which is of course not the same model either, but it looks pretty damn close. And would you look at that? It fits. One thing to note, that just seems pretty interesting. These two pieces are the same. The top one's from the 2011, bottom one's from a 2003. So these parts are identical. That's good. And one that's different is, of course, this. The interesting thing is that this is what comes in the Forester, which is a lot more flatter. I might use this one, because I believe this one's closer to what we are actually looking for. I'll try and fit this one on, but if it doesn't fit, then I'm pretty sure this will work just fine. Because those prongs are the same. That prong is just slightly different, and of course you got the curvature on this one, and this one's pretty much just dead flat. So, what we're going to do is just clean this up real quickly. I'm using a brush and throw it on. Now we can put everything together. Tap it into place. Just like so. And then we'll crimp it. Yep, let go. Unclip this. As per usual, the camera died while filming the assembly of the parking brake, but I'm a bit too lazy to refilm that. Besides, there are plenty of other good videos on YouTube and the internet to get a better in-depth look at how to do so. At this point, we just need to put on some new rotors, adjust the shoes, and there we go. A functioning parking brake. And with that, this video comes to a close. This one took way longer than expected to come out, as filming started back around October-November of last year, leading up all the way into December. However, that's about where the Baja journey will take a bit of a pause, as the only thing I worked on since then was getting a bit of welding done on the old ute. But that doesn't mean that I haven't been working. Aside from more update videos around the QX60, there's one extra little thing I can't wait to show you guys. With all that said, thank you for joining me again on this journey, and until next time, take care.